Hi everyone, I'm Kaya Izumi from Japan. Today, I would like to introduce horrible Katakana English words I've heard in Japan. Katakana English means borrowed English words in Japanese. Sometimes it can be Portuguese or Spanish or Italian. I took notes every time when I heard horrible Katakana English words. Surprisingly, influential conservative Japanese speakers who always say they want to protect Japan, Japanese cultures and traditions often use Katakana English words. I wonder why. They want to protect Japan, right? That means they probably also want to protect our language too. Well, I think it's getting worse and worse these days. When I was little, I didn't hear adults speak like that, talk like that. Well, we have some katakana words. We use them because we originally didn't have those things in Japan. For example, pizza, hamburger, グラス、コーラ、cappuccino, coffee. We didn't have those things, so we use katakana English in our daily lives. And then I think that's okay. But nowadays, adults, especially somehow, people in 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s often use katakana words during their conversations. And then, even though we have such words already, they want to use such katakana words. Maybe they think, oh, I'm so cool when I use them, or something. I'll give you some examples.
コンフリクトを引き起こす。対立とか、論争とか、そういうのでいいんじゃないですか？ And, エポックメイキングですね。画期的ですねっていう日本語ありますよね。画期的。インセンティブな、鼓舞するような、誘発するような、やる気を与えるっていう日本語ありますよ、そもそも。そして、サマライズするとって言いますか？まとめるとって言えばいいじゃないですか。極めてセルフィッシュな。極めてわがままなってよくないですか？ほんともうなんか、もう they sound so gross。パーマネントな脅威。永久的な脅威でよくないですか？アンコンシャスバイアスについて話したい。無意識的、偏見でいいじゃないですか。このアンコンシャスバイアスっていうのは、なんと NHK が使ったんですよね。NHK が今日はアンコンシャスバイアスについて話しましょうって言ったんですけど、無意識な偏見でよくないですか？割合、パンクチュアルにじゃなくて、時間厳守にとか、時間厳守でとか、時間を守ってっていう日本語ありますよね。パンクチュアルにって言います普通。もう、I'm afraid these katakana words will become common. And I think it's getting more and more common, I think, because of those middle-aged and old people. ラダーを登るように、はしごっていう日本語あります。グルーミーになっちゃう。グルーミー？憂鬱になっちゃうでいいですよね。ミニマイズされていく。縮小されていくでいいと思います。トリガーになる。引き金になるでいいと思います。よりビビッドにわかる。高度をディセントさせた。下げたでよくないですか？ファジーな感じ。もぞもぞするとか、ケバケバするっていいですよね。巨大なファシリティ。ファシリティは施設です。紙の新聞がシュリンクしていく。減少していくでいいと思います。そういうセンテンス、文脈で読んでいくべき。センテンスじゃなくて文章っていう日本語ありますよね。使ってください。それが私のソリューションです。解決策でいいと思います。ソリューションじゃなくて、十分なエビデンスが必要。最近これよく聞きますよね。We often hear this. エビデンスが必要。証拠ってなんで言いたくないんでしょうか？ファクトを確認。事実っていいと思います。コンスタントに仕事を入れていく。コンスタントに仕事を入れていくって。これは、定期的にとか、常に仕事を入れていくでいいと思います。シンパシーを抱いた。同情でいいと思います。フェードアウトする。次第になくなるっていう日本語を使いましょう。イントレスティングですね。 コントラバーシャルになっている。議論を読んでいるでよくないですか？バイアスかかってる。これよく聞くんですよね。なんかもう気持ち悪い。Sounds so gross. 偏見ありますよね。でいいでしょ？どうしてバイアスかかってますよねとか言わなきゃいけないんでしょうか？コンセンサスを取った。合意を得たとかでよくないですか？ガバナンス聞いてない。これもよく言うんですよ、保守派の人は。私も保守派ですけど。
But what I'm different from other Japanese conservative people is that I love and respect Chinese and Korean cultures. I mean, any cultures. Many conservative Japanese people hate China and Korea, but that's not the case with me. I like and am interested in any cultures of other countries or areas. I mean, I'm conservative towards any cultures.I want to protect and preserve our own Japanese cultures. And our uniqueness is a lot influenced by Shintoism and Buddhism. But at the same time, I want Chinese people to protect and preserve their own cultures. I want Thailand to remain Thai. I want India or Egypt to preserve their own cultures or heritages. I mean, I want all cultures to preserve their uniquenesses.If we lose our own uniquenesses and be homogenized, it will be so boring to travel to other countries or areas. Without any characteristics, our cities will all look like this. Even though if it's our fate, I still want to preserve our own cultures, traditions, heritages, and languages. Now back to the theme.
ガバナンス聞いてないっていうのかっこいいと思ってますか？統制聞いてない、管理できてないでいいと思います。もう少しロングスパンで長期間っていう感じあります。コーポレートしなくてはならない。協力でいいと思います。プレスの皆様から。これ報道機関の皆様、でいいと思いますよ。何かファンダメンタルな部分で、これ基本的な部分でとか根本的な部分でっていう日本語あります。ウェイトコントロールする。体重管理。で、良いプロダクトを作ろう。良い商品を作ろうでよくないですか？センシティブな問題。これもよく言うんですよ。特に中高年が。これはとてもセンシティブな問題なんで、って。敏感な問題。どうして敏感って言いたくないんでしょうか？どうして漢字を使いたくないんでしょうか？イマジネーションがない。想像力です。イマジネーションは。ビヘイビャーが素人。振る舞いでよくないですか？アップフィーチャーされた。それは、主に取り上げられたでいいと思います。スケープゴートにする。これは身代わりとか身代わりにされるでいいと思います。
ドラスティックに、これも聞きますね。劇的にとか、そんなんでよくないですか？ドラスティックにとか、非常にとかでいいですよね。リファンドする、返金って日本語あります。普通のシオリーだと、仮説とかでいいんじゃないですか。イニシエイティブを発揮する、ドミナントなもの。優勢なものでいいと思います。ハートウォーミングだね。気持ち悪い。心が温まるねでいいと思います。アンタッチャブルになっている。触れられなくなっているでいいと思います。シニカルなブラックジョーク。シニカルじゃなくて皮肉って日本語あります。ドクトリンを突きつけられてる。ハブ的役割。マインドセットを変えなきゃ、ブラックかホワイトなんですよ。皆さんのインターアクティブで、ベルリンはインクルーシブな街。アナーキーな。ウォークアウトする。心温まるホスピタリティを。おもてなしって日本語ありますよ。ファイヤーされた、解雇されたとかでクビになったとかでよくないですか？コンフリクトが起こる、アジアのアセット、カンフレンスがありました。ドネートしてください。アウトオブコントロールな。農家のインカムが増える。どんなハザードがあるのか。セーフティー確認、安全確認でいいと思います。メインストリームメディア、アグリーしている。同意しているでよくないですか？アセスメントも必要。ラゲッジを乗せて、ホティッシュになってる問題。今、熱くなってる話題とか、ホティッシュの話題って言うんですか？ It's going viral ならまだわかるけど。ディスクローズし、ディスカッションする。エクジットできる。ちゃんとグリップしないと。常識ですね。つまり、カマンセンス。common sense。常識って日本語あります。オーソライズされて、コンプレックス、すなわち、総合施設なんですね。じゃあ、コンプレックスって言わずに総合施設って最初から言いましょう。トライ&ディスカバーな人生に、バケーション中、休暇中ってありますね、日本語。ガバナンスキー、さっき言いましたね。セクシャルビヘイビアを確認する。ウィークデイですから、平日って日本語あります。ルーティンワークですよ。ラクジャリーなコンドミニアム。プレスリリースを見ますと、報道発表でいいと思います。コンテインされるのではなく、含まれるのではなくとか、 巻き込まれるのではなくでよくないですか？エンゲージさせる。アライを増やしたい。フェードアウトを目指す。プロット考えた。男湯と女湯をスイッチするようになった。オルガナイズする。ランニングコストが高い。アンレスか？ユースレスでホープレスな人たち。もう使い物にならなくて希望もないような人たちでよくないですか？ユースレスでホープレスな人たち。オータニティブとなる。スーパーメガリージョンになる。それが次第にマジョリティになる。
Using this Katakana English words tendency will eventually become majority if you talk like that.
リターンが求められる。フレッシュなブルーベリー。そういうスキームですから、毎日のタスク、それだけのフィーを出す。料金でいいです。フィーじゃなくて、倍の関係。2社間とか2つの関係でよくないですか？社員をレイオフする。解雇って感じあります。パーマネントな移民とテンポラリーな移民。これ竹中平蔵さんの発言ですね。イリーガルなんで。担当の皆さん、アグリーだと思います。さっきも言いましたね。ブッキングがなかった。ディテールで間違ってる。コンフィデンシャルな情報。極秘情報とかで、極秘情報って日本語があるじゃないですか。これはオーディエンスに届ける。インクルーシブな社会に、セーフシティ、ダイバーシティ、スマートシティ。小池候補が 10% ビハインドなんですね。ジョブレスになっちゃう。リアリティにある。オーバーラップされてる。日本にはレリジョンがないに等しい。宗教でよくないですか？神道ありますけど、神道。仏教もその後入ってきてますけど、バッドコンディションやな。そのようなムーブメントになっている。ピリオドを打てている気持ちではない連邦。クーリングシェルター。涼みどころでよくないですか？ライフステージに合わせて、人生の段階に合わせてでいいと思います。カルチャーがミックスする。ダウンサイズしていく。トップシークレットですから。
Well, it's too hot, so I turned the air conditioner on. But, the horrible ones, エクスポージャーされないと is this. エクスポージャーされないのって言いますか？私たちがそのような環境にエクスポージャーされると、私たちが、の肌が太陽の光にエクスポージャーされるとか言います？もう I was so surprised to hear this one. And then the person who said this probably thinks, oh, I'm so cool. I use the words that a lot of Japanese people don't know. So they're probably confused now. I feel good or something. I don't know. Why she said this? And the one, okay, here it is. トライアル&エラーでいきましょう。試行錯誤っていう日本語ありますんで、ちゃんと使ってくださいね。なくなりますよ、こんなことしてると。
I'm not saying English itself is bad. I think it's a cool language. But what I'm saying is, if Japanese people, a lot of them, more and more of them, keep talking like this, then our language, Japanese, will disappear after 40 or 50 years from now. Maybe it can be quicker. And another thing that I'm concerned is about migrants. Japanese government, Kishida administration, has decided to bring in 820,000 migrants into Japan from this year. And then if they want to bring their families with them, they can. So the population of the Japanese is going down, while the number of foreigners is increasing. So I think not just Japanese language, but also cultures and traditions and festivals can disappear in the near future.
I'll talk about my opinion on this matter in another video later, but I'm not saying we should exclude all foreigners who want to live and stay in Japan. I think it's totally okay to accept those who are willing to learn Japanese language, traditions and cultures, and inherit and protect our traditional events. However, since our government decided to accept a much larger number of foreigners, those who don't respect our cultures or rules have increased. But now, foreign residents who don't want to be assimilated to our society are demanding what they want, such as mosques and cremation cemeteries. I love Muslim cultures and Arabic pop music, so please don't take me wrong. This problem has been brought up because our government has decided to accept a huge number of migrants in a very short period of time, just like the US is doing. And what most Japanese politicians aren't aware of, or they just don't simply care, is that when such migrant population overtakes ours, our cultures will also disappear. This is something the US Biden administration has been pressuring us to do. The US government probably thinks what's good for them is also good for Japan. But that's completely wrong, since we have a completely different history and cultures from the US. Although we are part of G7, we are still a part of Asia, and a unique one. Last year, Biden administration imposed LGBT law on us, which can jeopardize our onsen culture. So, just like we don't welcome those who don't pay respect to us into our individual homes, we should strictly select foreigners who want to live in Japan. We should choose those who truly love Japanese cultures, respect and follow our social rules. Anyways, I'll talk about this matter in another video. Now back to the first topic.
Some conservative Japanese people believe that GHQ, the US, is trying to destroy our language, cultures, and traditions, and Shintoism. But as for the language, I don't know about that because I think the problem lies in Japanese people themselves. Japanese people have fantasy towards Western countries. They think Western things are so cool, especially American things. There are 2 TV programs on Monday that interview foreign tourists at airports, and then they follow them. But most of the times, they feature white people. From Europe, North and South America, Australia, and so on. Most of the times, they don't go to Asian, Arabic, Black, or Chinese, Hispanic people. They mostly pick white people. So that tells you something. I think it's an unconscious thing. But I can tell that a lot of Japanese people have a fantasy towards Western countries. It's true that a lot of Japanese think American things, French, Italian, German things, oh, so cool. Oh, you're from Germany? Oh, you're from the US, Canada? Oh, so cool. You know. But until the Meiji era, Japanese people always fantasized China. They always wanted to go and study in China, like monks, politicians. But in the Meiji era, Japanese government set up a slogan says, "That's a new O," which means get out of Asia and join West.
I think a lot of Japanese are still like that. And then I've heard that, it doesn't apply to my case, so I can't understand their feelings, but I've heard that the majority of Japanese are not proud of their own country. They are not proud that they're Japanese. They're not proud of own cultures and traditions. I just can't understand why, because I love my own country, cultures, language, of course, traditions, Shintoism, and Buddhist temples. So I just don't understand. And because I'm proud, I try not to use a lot of katakana words when I speak. When I speak in English, of course, I use English words. And when I speak in Japanese, I use Japanese words. I don't try to use Katakana English words. Because when such a thing becomes normal, our language will gradually disappear. I know that. Well, some Japanese say people who work at foreign affiliated companies often use katakana words. But I mean, why? My Chinese husband, works for a foreign affiliated company, but he doesn't use English words in Chinese so often like Japanese people do. So I don't think it's a good excuse. The problem is Japanese people, a lot of them are thinking like, バイアスかかってるね。エビデンスあるの？カンファレンスに行ったの？ It's a cool way of talking, unfortunately. I don't think GHQ, the US, is trying to destroy the Japanese language. The ones who are trying to are Japanese people themselves. Isn't it so sad? Nowadays, a lot of Japanese are using katakana English words for the alternatives of Japanese words. I don't know why. We already have those words in Japanese. then I'm sure some Japanese will say, kanji is not Japanese. Kanji came from China. We use borrowed words, kanji anyways. So why don't we use katakana English words? But kanji, Chinese letters are different from English words. As I said in my past videos, Japanese are the mixture of the indigenous Jomon people and people who came from the Chinese continent and the Korean peninsula later. So, to some extent, kanji is the characters of our ancestors. I'm sorry to say this if you don't like, if you were Chinese and you hate Japan, but I feel like that. And this is not how most of the Japanese people feel, but I think kanji is not complete falling letters. I think that's something our ancestors, people who have connections with us, created. So, I'm also proud of kanjis, and then I think they're the coolest characters in the world. And then it's just my opinion, but I think they look so cool. And then I like calligraphy. I love calligraphy. I think it's so cool. Shodo is cool. English is a language of the Anglo-Saxon, and their cultures are completely different from ours. Japanese scientists did DNA tests of Japanese rice plants, Japonica. There are 3 major possible routes. Rice plants didn't swim or walk to Japan by themselves. Migrants brought them with them. There's a record says that the descendant of Han Emperor migrated to Japan via the Korean peninsula. It's said that he was driven away by the way, but his Japanese name was Achio. It's recorded that he brought about 1,780 people with him, his families, engineers, craftsmen, and so on. Sakanoue no Tamuramaro was his descendant, and then so was a famous monk, Saicho. Sakanoue no Tamuramaro is the one who built Kiyomizu Temple in Kyoto. Japanese people who hate Chinese people and Chinese people who hate Japanese don't want to believe this, but it's scientifically proven that the very first O-type people, Yayoi people, migrated to Japan from around Manchuria, China, and then later, Kohun people migrated to Japan from the area around current Shanghai to Japan. The yellow parts are where O-type Han percentage is high. The green areas are where Jomon percentage is high. I don't make up stories for my videos. This renowned Japanese scientist Kenichi Shinoda has made it clear that the very first Yayoi people migrated to Japan from the area around northern China. He's the head of the Japanese National Science Museum, but he specializes in molecular biology, anthropology, and he's also a medical doctor. One of his European team members won the Nobel Prize. Some history teachers deny scientific facts because they simply hate China. Also, when I told these scientific facts to 2 Chinese people, they told me I was a liar and I was fake. Probably because they hate Japan. I like and respect Dr. Shinoda because he doesn't have such a bias against anyone. And he looks a lot like my Chinese husband. But my husband is much younger. Kanazawa University and its international team conducted a DNA test called Paleogenomics, and then they found out a similar thing. The National Science Laboratory of Japan also has revealed a similar result. In case you can't believe me, I put their links in the description box below. But they're talking about the major ancestries of the Japanese. Very, very small lineages are not included. I know there are some Japanese people who believe that we are the direct descendants of Jewish people from around Israel. Because we have similar chrysanthemum flowers and gates like torii gates. However, what those people don't know is that in ancient times, the symbol of our imperial family was not chrysanthemum flower. Our emperor in the Kamakura era, in around the 13th century, changed the symbol into chrysanthemum flower just because he liked it. As for the Japanese Shinto torii gates, there are similar gates in India, Thailand, China, and Korea. There's a similar chrysanthemum flower symbol in India as well. There are so many common or similar things we share with neighboring Asian countries like China and Korea. But some Japanese, especially history teachers who do YouTube, focus only on similarities with Jewish or Israeli people. The Song family who created Kyoto is said to be the descendants of Qing Emperor in China, but such Japanese insist that the family was Jewish. And they say that the Japanese Shintoism is Judaism. Some Japanese believe rice farming in parties where Chinese characters or even human beings originates from Japan, because Jomon people are old kind of people. But I think they need more scientific evidence to prove their claims. I'll also have to talk about this in another video later. Now again, back to the topic. So, if we didn't have kanji, or if we ever abolish using kanji in Japan, I think there will be a confusion, and then we will feel so weird. If we say Fukuoka Airport instead of saying Fukuoka Kuko, subway instead of saying chikatetsu, that sounds so goofy to me. There was a samurai lord who had an armored helmet says "I love over here, but if he didn't use kanji and then he used Katakana English word labu, do you think he will look so cool? As I said earlier, I think English language itself is cool, but when it's made into katakana, it sounds so goofy or silly. I've noticed that at restaurants nowadays in Japan, waitresses often say, ライスになさいますか? パンになさいますか? How come they say ライス instead of ご飯? We have a word ご飯. In Japan, bread is pan, but it actually derives from a Portuguese word pão. Again, originally we didn't have bread in Japan, so I think it's okay to say pão in katakana Portuguese. ドリンクはセルフサービスになっております. It's so common nowadays, unfortunately. I just can't understand how they can't be so proud of their own cultures or languages. As I said, I think English is a cool language. Chinese letters are cool. Of course, Hindi, Swahili, Arabics are also cool, but I want Japanese language to stay Japanese. You know what I mean?
The problem is Japanese people, a lot of them are thinking like, バイアスかかってるね。エビデンスあるの？カンファレンスに行ったの？ It's a cool way of talking, unfortunately. I don't think GHQ, the US, is trying to destroy the Japanese language. The ones who are trying to are Japanese people themselves. Isn't it so sad? So, if you ever encounter a Japanese person who uses katakana words a lot, then please tell him or her, aren't you proud of your own language? If you keep talking like that, Japanese will disappear in the near future. Maybe much sooner than you think. Would you like that? Please. I introduce Japanese cultures in English and Japanese, and sometimes I play traditional Japanese instruments in my videos. So if you are interested, please subscribe to my channel. 私は日本文化を英語と日本語で紹介しています。そして時々日本の伝統楽器を弾いたりしています。興味があられる方は登録の方よろしくお願いいたします。Goodbye for now. 再见。アンニョン。皆さんさようなら。